what's gonna be what's your thing today for the intro?
What a weekend. We're going to break it down.
All
What a
right.
weekend. Let's break it down.
Record. Start. Right. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Monday, April 19th, 2021. Jake Paul knocks out Ben Askren in the first round in the Saturday night fight, and Alex Smith retires after 16 years in the NFL.
What a wild weekend. Let's break it down.
I don't know what you have at the top. We could just start with NFL. That's what I have. I feel like that's what we usually start with. Talk
Yep.
about. You can jump into Alex Smith right away. I'm just pulling up the live stream quick.
Hey, how's it going today?
Oh, just fantastic. Like you said, a lot of stuff happened over the weekend. Excited to dive into it. Kind of kicking things off with Alex Smith. What's going on with him?
So, news just came out a little bit ago that he is stepping away from the game of football. Um, Everybody kind of expected that to happen over the course of him battling through last season and it kind of being a rough go for him. I believe he did get some wins, but still, it was overall just a rough time seeing him kind of like limp all over the field. I'm glad he did make it back though and get out there for some games and able to play. So it's cool to see that. Glad to see that he retired. He gave like a big shout out on Instagram from his wife's account to the fans of the 49ers and the Chiefs and the Redskins or the Washington football team as well. And just saying how he basically appreciates everything that the fans gave him. So that was really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, after he come back from his injury, a lot of people, probably even himself at one point, kind of counted himself out as far as coming back to play football. He had to first worry about being able to walk again, and he's got kids, so obviously, for him being a father and being able to do stuff with his kids is priority one. So, for him to get past that and still have the passion to go back out on the football field and still look as good as ever. Like you said, he hobbled around a little bit, but being a quarterback, you don't have to worry about mobility too much. And Alex Smith himself isn't known as a mobile quarterback, so it wasn't too much of an issue for him. So, kind of going off of him retiring now, this past year he won the Comeback Player of the Year award. With him now retiring, there's been a lot of people kind of behind the idea of naming that award after him. Do you think that's something the NFL would consider or something they should look into?
No, I don't think the NFL should change that and make that just for the single point. If you name it the Alex Smith Award, you're therefore taking out people coming back from cancer, people coming back from a whole bunch of other types of injuries slash illnesses, since he only came back from an injury. So, I think doing that kind of limits the comeback player of the year is like how many people are eligible to do that. So I feel like the NFL should just keep it what it is. I do hope that he does find a job in the NFL, though, quarterbacks coach, or even goes to college, does something along those lines. But I think the NFL should keep it what it is.
Yeah, I mean a definitely noteworthy career. Obviously, never really won any Super Bowls, didn't have any crazy years, just kind of flew under the radar in a lot of cases. I mean, I know for quarterbacks, kind of the requirement to get into the Hall of Fame is Pro Bowls, and off the top of my head, I don't know how many he had. I know he had a couple over the years. I want to say so. I mean, that makes him eligible at least. But do you think that the length of his career was Hall of Fame worthy, or do you think he needed more accolades to put him in that conversation?
I'm pretty sure you're going to need at least one Super Bowl to get in. So unfortunately, I don't think he will get in. as far as his stats wise. I could see him sneaking in just for like all of what he went through to come back playing the game. I could see them paying some sort of tribute to him in the Hall of Fame for that, but I don't think he's gonna go in there strictly off his statistics.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, Moving on next, sticking with the NFL, the Cincinnati Bengals released some new jerseys for the first time since 2004. Got a chance to look at them kind of right when they came out. I mean, they don't look a whole lot different than their old jerseys, which I mean, I don't know. I don't know who really comes up with those schemes. If it's somebody within the NFL or somebody within the Bengals organization or a combination of the two that come up with these designs. But I mean, it definitely looks modernized. But I don't know. I wasn't like, whoa, those are sick. They just look like, oh yeah, those are a little different
I like them. They got a lot of new guys coming in, expecting to change the way the organization was. I feel like it's a new jerseys, new look, new feel for a new team, and seeing what they're gonna do with one of their high draft picks with them sitting at the 5 spot. So it's gonna be interesting to see what's gonna happen.
for sure. Kind of sticking with that topic of jerseys. Obviously being a Packers fan, do you think the Packers will ever revamp their jerseys and kind of take that next step, whether it's a couple years down the road, maybe when we're older? I know for really how many years, like way before we were born, there's the Packers jerseys have been essentially the same. You have a couple throwbacks now and then, the all white color rush jerseys. Do you see them ever giving the Packers a new look, or do you think that they're too historical of a franchise to ever do that?
Yeah, they ain't never gonna change their jerseys. Way too much history goes into that. Just like the Bears, I don't think they're ever gonna change their jerseys as well, just due to the history that they have with the sport of football here. Yeah, obviously, like you mentioned, the alternate jerseys and the stuff like that. We're still gonna continue to do all of that, but I don't think that the scheme of the jerseys will ever change for the home and away.
Yeah, I agree. As cool as it would be to kind of see, I guess, a revamp. I don't know. I guess I don't know how they do it. You always see those fan made concepts of different jerseys and different helmets and stuff, and some of them are like, all right. I mean, none of them are too like, oh yeah, they need to change that now. Like they need to get on board with that. But yeah, like you said, I agree. It might take a very long time for them ever to get to that point if they ever do. But like I said, I feel like we'd be very old if not gone before they would ever do something like that.
Yeah, 100%. I just unless they decide to get a GM, like unless they decide to get an owner too, that could definitely change those plans. But until then, I don't think anything's gonna happen. What about Tom Brady? Came out and said his knee surgery went super well. Everything's looking super good. I know you had put out on the Instagram that there had been talks about reaching out to Marshawn Lynch to potentially come in there. Do you even think that's possible with them pretty much strapped to the cap 100% after re signing all their guys? Do you think that's even a move, or do you think that's just a publicity stunt?
I mean, if it's true and Tom Brady is behind it, I think there's a lot of weight behind it just because of the name he carries. If he wants somebody, I mean, look at what he did in New England. Look at what he did in his 1 year with the Bucks to say, "Hey, I want this guy," and the Bucks went out and got him. So if Brady does want him and sees some value in him, I think they could get it done. Given that Marshawn is in the latter years of his career, I mean, obviously he's retired now, but if he came back, he's not going to come back and be a workhorse. He'd be a third, probably a third string situational kind of guy. I could see him coming in for like a 1 year deal of honestly less than 1 million. Like throw him like three-quarters of $1 million for a year. I mean, Lynch is at that point in his career where he doesn't need that money. Obviously, he retired. He doesn't need the game of football anymore. So I could see him coming back for super cheap just to go win another Super Bowl. But yeah, like you said, with them being kind of hurting with cap space, it probably wouldn't be easy to do. But I guess if Marshawn Lynch comes in knowing that, he's going to realize I'm not going to get the kind of money I probably want. But again, a lot of people came to Tampa Bay at a pay cut to either win a Super Bowl or stay to try to go back to back.
Yeah, I was just doing some more digging into that, the rumor of that even being possible as well. But ever since they like pretty much acquired having LaShawn McCoy on the team as well as Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones, since they're entering basically the second year of that offense staying intact, I don't think it's going to happen at all. I know that there was talks, um, that Tom Brady and Marshawn had a conversation in the offseason potentially about doing that, but given the circumstances with them going into full swing, and even Bruce Arians saying how that team, if they had 7 or 8 more games yet, they would have hit their peak probably in about 8 games. It'd be stupid for them to bring somebody in for what? Maybe a 3rd and 1. You got Leonard Fournette for that, and he
Hmm.
already is familiar with all the plays. You just re-sign the guy. You're not why re-sign the guy and then trade him?
Yeah,
It doesn't make a lot of sense unless you're doing that with the super young guy. And since Fournette's a veteran in the league, that just makes no sense at all for them to do that.
no. Plus, they went out and got Giovanni Bernard last week too, who got released from the Bengals. So that's really four
That you
running
got that
backs
are
that you
all
have.
veterans.
Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't make sense too, but at the same time, like I said, if Tom Brady wants him, they're gonna go get him, even if they don't really need him. Um, so yeah.
How would they free up that space and cap though?
How did they sign all 22 guys to begin with? It's
Well, they did that to fit all the 22 guys in, but once you're signed, you already have cap space that hits you against your roster once you're signed. So all
yeah,
these players who have signed, they have to take all their cap hits anyway. So there's really no room, especially with AB. Rumors have him nearing close to a deal with Tampa to be back there. Looks like they're a little bit closer on money now. So
kind of sticking with Antonio Brown. Last year, about this time as well, before he signed, the Packers were kind of that they were the favorite, and then Tampa Bay came out of nowhere, and because I'm sure Tom Brady said no, I want him, so Tampa went out and got him. Um, Again with Packers and their free agency and draft picks, it's always lackluster. Their Packers are still supposedly on the table for signing Brown. Do you think that that could be a landing spot for him as well?
I absolutely don't. We're just the Packers are as well. We're pretty much strapped to the limit on our cap space with ap- pretty much after once free agency kind of was over and now it's like into that extended period. We didn't make any moves. We restructured all the deals that we had to do, and we're kind of at that limit too with the cap going down and all of that. I don't think AB is going to find a spot to fit in unless he's taking and obviously Seattle. He wanted Russ wanted him to come there. Organization couldn't do it. There's probably no money, and that's where all these teams basically are struggling right now is to have the money to go do that. I feel like if he wants to go play and get paid and not go play to win, he's going to have to look at one of the teams that are on the bottom end, like Jacksonville, maybe Houston. I don't know, Dallas. Like I said, he's got to try to go somewhere that is on the bottom and kind of has a lot of cap room because all the teams at the top basically restructured their teams to keep everybody intact. That's like the new strategy going forward. Packers, we pretty much re-signed everybody as well. That's kind of the new move going forward is you get a group of guys in there and you keep getting close. You try to keep that all together, minus a few pieces here and there that you try to fix to get over that hump. But yeah, I think AB, if he's not in Tampa, I honestly personally don't see him in the league this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all those points. Obviously, as a Packers fan, it'd be nice to see them go out and get somebody in free agency yet. Although it's starting to go, the I guess the amount of receivers that are available is wearing thin. Just with kind of free agents in general, once you get this close to the draft, basically unless it's a package deal where somebody's giving up a draft pick for the draft this year, which kind of adds more value because it's, hey, we're getting an extra pick in 2 weeks, so then you can kind of base it that way. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of people still left to go after. Antonio Brown is probably really the biggest guy in free agency, along with Richard Sherman, as far as where they're going to land. And as I mentioned, Richard Sherman, another kind of insider thing with the Jets organization is him possibly going to the Jets. Um, Him and Robert Salah had a good relationship when he was still the D coordinator in San Francisco. Supposedly, there have been conversations between the two of them, so that'd be a great spot for him to land as well. I know, kind of with our mock draft picks and stuff, we had the Jets beefing up their defense after they go out and get Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, whoever they're going to go get. Um, so yeah, it'd be a good move for them. Obviously, Packers as well. They need a vet D back to kind of help that young core who's struggled the last year or two as well. So definitely be interesting. Once we get closer to the draft, if some draft night deals happen where a guy lands, or the week after the draft as well, is always an interesting spot to look at where teams are switching guys around after they kind of get a feel for what their roster is going to look like for the year.
Yeah, absolutely. You bringing up the whole Richard Sherman point, I could totally. He needs to go to a team that's young. He needs to go to a team with young cornerbacks, or even just a young team in general, for him to just show those younger players how to act. He's been one of those guys on and off the field that's you've never heard anything bad said about the guy. I know he's a super competitor and he's got into it with some guys on the field, but that has nothing bad reflecting of his character. That just shows that he wants to win.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I could see him definitely going to a team with some young guys, so that, like I said, he could show them the way. And Salah in that relationship, that's already a good foot right there in the door. One other person you were talking about free agency, Sheldon Richardson, defensive tackle from the Cleveland Browns, has been released. So they save 11 million against the cap this year. Cleveland Browns. I didn't even think of this until I just brought this up. Them saving that 11 million. AB to Cleveland, be that number 3 guy. I mean, that could be a great fit for him up there if he likes the cold weather and wants, play against his old squad 2 times a year. It'd be really interesting to see if he ends up in Cleveland. But yeah, they're making some moves to potentially make a play, or maybe they go out and get Sherman as well and try to make that push for a Super Bowl. Marquise Goodwin, wide receiver, signed a 1 year deal to the Bears. That was a good pickup for them. He's a speedy, quick guy. That's kind of seems the way that they've been leaning, going towards their team. Um, Tariq Cohen, other guys are super fast. Seems like that's the way that they're trying to move the organization. So that's pretty cool. Um, yeah. Did you have anything else? Otherwise, I was gonna drive into some more draft rumors here.
Yeah, I got two more points, I guess, on the NFL. One more signing to mention. Bears re-signed safety to Sean Gibson to a 1 year deal. Um, Looks like they've been able to pretty much keep that defense intact. Obviously, the Bears being really a top 10 defense year in and year out to kind of really keep that team relevant for a playoff run. Uh, I know with the whole Russell Wilson deal, they were looking to get rid of Kyle Fuller and Akeem Hicks, which would have been two big blows to that defense if they would have got rid of both of those guys, which they end up, Fuller did end up signing elsewhere. But yeah, bringing Gibson back, obviously good. Again, with a 1 year deal, all these teams are kind of leaning towards that 1 year deal because, again, of the cap that's going to go way up to it's going to be really interesting this time next year to see all these blockbuster deals that are going to happen. I feel like you're going to
A lot of
see
guys with good
a lot of
players.
record, highest paid receiver, highest paid like all these guys are going to start breaking records. So look forward to that. And the last point I have on the NFL today, the Buffalo Bills announced that they plan to be at full capacity for the 2021 season. Um, kind of cool they're doing it. They say that spectators must be vaccinated to be admitted in. So obviously anybody who's not vaccinated cannot purchase tickets. However they're going to do that, I guess to prove that you're vaccinated, I guess they're going to have some kind of system forward. Um, they're kind of the first team I've seen do this. So do you think this is kind of a good step for the NFL, and do you see other teams kind of following suit with that as well, as far as making spectators be vaccinated?
Personally, I think that's stupid and that's against your right as being a citizen of the United States of having to get a vaccine if you want to go enjoy certain things or even be outside and around other people. Um, there's been plenty of cases where people can do this 100% safely just by following the protocols that are already in place. So why make people go do that? And then you were talking about like how they would like mandate to make sure people are vaccinated. They give you a card. You get a card that you have to carry in your wallet stating that you're vaccinated. But the biggest thing that I've seen online is the black market. People have been purchasing these cards from people and changing the names on them for people who do want to go participate in these activities so they do have a card. So there's going to be no way to literally stop that from happening. So I feel like it's like a big overplay of how they stated that of you have to be vaccinated. They're just trying to follow the NFL suit and trying to make people get vaccinated. Obviously, they're encouraging it at this point, as well as like I think all the major sports leagues are actually encouraging their team members slash people that work with the team to get vaccinated, but they can't make you. No matter what, they can't make you. So it's another smoke piece. Just them just trying to get people to get vaccinated. I know over the weekend there was reports 27% of the country now has been vaccinated. So give it about another 2-3 weeks, and they should be at that 50% threshold that they're shooting for, and then everybody should be good to go. Hopefully, everything stays stays how it's going.
Yeah.
And then I just have a couple things here, some draft rumors that have came up here. Looks like Justin Fields potentially may fall out of the top 10. Trey Lance, news has been coming out of him storming out of the weekend that he may move up to 3 and he might be San Francisco's guy. Looks like a guy that Mike Shanahan knows. Trey Lance reached out to him and hired him as his personal guy. Turns out they Shanahan's been, I don't know obviously if this is all true or not, but sources say, like even ESPN has reported this. Um, he's working with a guy who knows like all the San Francisco's plays, their schemes, how they like to throw balls, all that type of stuff. And basically today's pro day for Trey Lance was basically showing the 49ers like, hey, I can fit your system. I can make all the throws that you want to see me make. Basically, it was a show off for the 49ers or even the Falcons at 4. So it turns out he may sneak up and go at that number 3 spot. Rumors also have it the Patriots maybe moving up to get Mac Jones, either at that 4 or 5 spot. Um, Atlanta being in that 4 spot, they're in the driver's seat right now. A lot of speculations have came out. I know I projected Fields to go there, and you projected Fields to the Pats there. Rumors have it that they're not even shopping at quarterback at all, and they might go snag Pitts. So that could be a big game changer. I know Matt Ryan's kind of in the latter half of his career. Get him a big tight end. I know when he had Tony Gonzalez down there, they did some work. Hooper, when he was, they could do some work down there. So Pitts, I could see him really fitting in well down there, especially they're really pass heavy. So that'll really, make him look a lot brighter and showcase all of the skills that he's supposed to be this generational talent. And then the last thing I have about the NFL and the draft, Trevor Lawrence and his wife donated $20,000 to Jacksonville charities after they received a whole bunch of their wedding gifts. So congratulations to Trevor. And then also, I know last week we mentioned about he was receiving all the beef from what people what the 2 statements that came out about him about how he may not want to win and all this other type of stuff. I don't know if you had the chance to see it. Did you see his what he posted on Instagram over the weekend?
No, I saw a thing about it, but I thought it was just reiterating from last week. I didn't know it was a new thing.
Yeah, so it turns out he came out and stated, I'm just going to read it here so we can get this out. It seems if people are misreading my sentiment, I am internally motivated. I love football as much or as more than anyone. It is a huge priority in my life, obviously. I am driven to be the best I can be and to maximize my potential and to win. I have a lot of confidence in my work ethic. I love to grind and chase my goals. You can ask anyone who has ever been in my life. That being said, I am secure in who I am and what I believe. I don't need football to make me feel worthy as a person. I purely love the game and everything that comes with it. The work, the team, the ups and downs. I'm a firm believer in the fact that there's a plan for my life, and I am called to be the best I can be at whatever I am doing. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, LOL. This is how he signed it off. So, back speaking again on my point, how I came out originally, like, shout out to the kid for speaking how he really feels. Amen. Like, shout out to the kid again. I mean, standing his ground, holding his ground, saying, I know who I am, that confidence. That's just a total confidence play to me. It just makes it seem like he knows who he is through and through. He's faced the ups and the downs, the big ups and the downs before even going to the NFL. Obviously, that's a different whole stage of the game, but just he seems like he's like a 40-year-old person for his wisdom and his maturity of how he acts, carries himself, and just I don't know. Just seems like he's got a great head on his shoulders. And shout out to him for again standing up to everybody who's ever said anything bad about him and basically saying, "You can say what you want. I know who I am." So
Yeah. I
that was
mean,
awesome.
I feel like he didn't even have to do that. Like, you know what I mean? He could have just left it as it was, and like, but this was just like you said, another added to his confidence even more. Um, so yeah, that just kind of point I wanted to add there. He didn't have to come out and say that, but just the fact that he did, it's like good for him to silence the haters even more than he already did last week. Any other NFL news?
No, that's all I got.
All right. What do you got for the NBA?
So for the NBA, I have shout out to Steph Curry. Last week in the NBA, Steph Curry made more 3 pointers than the following teams: Orlando Magic, Sacramento Kings, Washington Wizards, and the New Orleans Pelicans. That is super impressive for a solo player to literally shoot more 3 pointers than teams have in a week as to how many players on different teams actually get into the game and at least log a minute or two to put up a couple shots. So that's really impressive. Um, I also have pretty much the MVP conversation has pretty much been narrowed down to two names: Jokic and Embiid. Who do you think's going to take it home and why?
I mean, that's a tough one just because which I love to see this year with the NBA is two centers, true centers, because the center position is becoming less and less of a thing nowadays. It's more or less kind of power forwards that play that position. Um, so it's great to see your top two guys for the running being centers. As far as MVP, I would have to say Jokic, just because again, it's most valuable person to your team. Aside from um, aside from Embiid, you have Simmons, and both have been kind of saying back and forth all year that they think that they're the best, that they should get Defensive Player of the Year, and I think one of them deserve it as well. Kind of just how good that Philly team has been defensively all year. But going back to the MVP conversation, even more is Jokic on the Nuggets because Jamal Murray went down as well. More weight got added to his shoulders. So obviously, the rest of the season as it plays out, I think is going to be the nail in the coffin for Jokic getting it if he can kind of pick up the extra slack and kind of keep them at where they are, if not move them up a spot or two in the conference standings in the West. So just as a um again most valuable person to their team right now, especially with Jamal Murray being down, I think that made Jokic stock go up in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, I would almost have to agree with everything that you said there. Just the one thing that a lot of people don't really understand is that Embiid is kind of like that old school style center where he takes it to the rack every chance that he can. He's getting to the line a lot. Just looking at some of the stats, yesterday when I was writing down what I was going to bring for the show today. I noticed Embiid averages 11 free throws a game, where Jokic only averages 4. Then you kind of look. I was watching some highlights on them, just kind of seeing their gameplay. Jokic is more of the shooter type of center, where Embiid is the overall gritty style. Great for Philly, as he fits that city very well and plays hard all the time. The one knock on Embiid is he's missed a handful of games. I think he's only going to, like, if he plays the rest of them, I think he'd only be at like 55 or 53 or something like that. So, like you said, the ball is in Jokic's court right now. If he can continue to do what he's doing and maybe a little bit more with the loss of Murray, like you mentioned, they're in the fourth spot right now. If they can hold that or even move up, I think it's his done deal, no questions about it. And then I feel like in that case, you would have to give Defensive Player of the Year to Embiid.
For sure.
And then, did you see the latest Kevin Durant drama? Did you happen to catch all that?
A little bit, yeah. I'm starting to kind of tune him out more and more every time I hear about him, to be honest.
Yeah, it was hilarious. He ended up leaving the game the other night with a thigh bruise, and it's just like, how bad could a bruise be where you're not going to play? Anyways, besides the point. Over the weekend, he sat down for an interview and he was asked the question. I don't know if you saw this or not.
His top
If
five
you,
teammates.
yep, and how he, when thinking of the last guy, he basically took almost a minute to answer, and then he said Serge Ibaka. And the guy goes, "Well, what about Russell Westbrook?" And he goes, "Oh my God, my bad, I completely forgot." It's just like totally throwing shade at Russ. Basically, I know those guys have had beef ever since they left. They try to play it off like everything's cool. No, it's not. It's just hilarious to see Kevin Durant continuing off the court to be involved in all this type of bullshit when he's not even healthy enough, focusing on himself enough to even get back and play in the game. I forgot what it was, but something along the lines that with the projected schedule, I think by the end of the year, they're only going to have maybe 10 or so games played, the big three together. What do you think that says for the NBA as a league if they only have 10 games played together and they go out and win a championship?
I think if you're in the East and you're the Bucks or the 76ers or really the top two or three teams behind the Nets, I think you step on their throat while they're down. Uh, like don't give them a chance to get back healthy. Whoever sees them in the first round, whatever that's going to look like, and obviously the play-in tournament is going to be interesting when that comes around, because the Nets are going to end up playing whoever comes out of the bottom of that. Um, yeah, just kind of like I said, the when the big monster of the NBA is down, you gotta keep them down. So I think it's going to be crucial for the first whoever the Nets play in the first round, if not the second round, but for sure to knock them out, to kind of not let them get healthy and get back under their feet. If they make it out of the first two rounds and end up making it into the Eastern Finals, I think it's going to be kind of over there at that point, because they will have gotten healthy and kind of get everything back going again. So, and just with all the drama with Kevin Durant, and then even like James Harden kind of being kind of a whiner in my opinion with a lot of stuff, with fouls and whatnot, and then um, Kyrie Irving taking a lot of time away, which we learned was kind of just more of a personal decision for him. But still, it's just like no matter what, it's always coming back to Kevin Durant and what's going on with Kyrie Irving, and like all there's every week there's always something to talk about the Nets, and it's not about how good they are playing. They're barely beating teams right now with kind of their, I guess, their bench squad. Um, yeah, so that's kind of, I guess, where my head's at with that.
I think if they do end up winning it, I just think that shows the whole entire world and the NBA that basically the regular season is a joke, and you can basically rest guys as much as you want, and guys can go basically do whatever they want as long as they have it down comfortable enough to where they can step on the court and go light it up. Because clearly, all the games that they have played with each other, they've lit it up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no doubt about that. That they have the chemistry is already there with those guys. But the one thing that I am like have a big question on, they can't even stay healthy with how the regular season is shaping out. Then you get to the playoffs where you're playing every other night. If they can't stay healthy in the regular season, there's no way they can expect to stay healthy through the playoffs. Like, there's no way playing every other night when they can't even string together, maybe even 10 games in a 72 game season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just embarrassing for the league. I feel like I really hope that they don't I hope that they don't win, but if they do, I really think this just makes a huge mockery of the NBA and just how you can have any teams basically put three guys together and play with your bench all year long, just as long as you're good enough to make that last spot and then go out in the playoffs and just run the table because you have the best players.
Mm-hmm.
Like, arguably, Kevin Durant is the greatest basketball player in the world currently at this time when he's healthy. And I would put Steph right up there. I'd put LeBron right up there as well. But if you can't do it consistently and you can't stay healthy, and it doesn't fucking matter. And especially when he keeps running his mouth, I just think that's hilarious how he's basically firing up the rest of the league to say he's basically putting a target on their whole team's back,
Mm-hmm.
not even wanting to really do that. He's just all the attention that he's bringing is basically just putting a bigger target on them and making teams really want to go out and beat them. I know it's a tall task to ask for a team to go beat those guys, especially when they're all playing. But at the same time, it's going to happen, and sooner or later, we'll get to see what happens.
Yeah. I guess one or two more points, kind of just on the Nets. Like you said, it's going to be hard for them down the stretch if they can't stay healthy. Um, and it's kind of going to show when guys come back in. James Harden played, well, first time he came back after how long? Played 4 minutes, went out because he re-aggravated something. Kevin Durant, last game, had that thigh contusion, which is just a fancy word for a bruise. Um, yeah.
Real quick about Harden, though, I could see him being ran down. I could see him getting injured though. Just looking at his career, the amounts of minutes that he logs, he pretty much plays every single minute, all game, every single game. And for the amount of offense and how dynamic of a player he is, yeah, he gets some calls and whatever. The offensive players do get those calls, in every league. The superstars and the faces kind of get those calls. So, yeah, I was just wanted to put that point in there that he's the only injury that basically seems acceptable for the amount of minutes that he's logged. But like KD, like you said, it's just embarrassing.
Yeah. And then the other point I want to make, kind of like you said about that Kevin Durant running his mouth, putting kind of a target on the Nets' back. Once the end of the season comes and the playoffs come, I wouldn't be surprised if you see things starting to get chippy, where basically kind of because the NBA is isn't a contact sport, you see some more kind of elbowing, some more aggressiveness down in the paint. Otherwise, a big thing for shooters at the like long two point range or 3 point range is not giving the shooter room to land. So you see a lot of rolled ankles and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if you see that kind of stuff too with the Nets, where these teams are just kind of getting chippy against the Nets with how they think they're the best thing since sliced bread. And Kevin Durant runs his mouth, even though this year he hasn't really put up the stat when he's on the floor. His minute to point ratio is good, but when you're averaging like a couple minutes a game, basically at this point of year, like there's nothing really to hang your hat on for the Nets. So, um, and the other thing too is with yes, how good they could be and how good they should be in the playoffs. Their defense is atrocious. Again, they could be one of the first NBA team or the first NBA team to be number one scoring offense and the worst scoring defense in the same year. And when you have guys who are fighting injuries like Durant and Irving and Harden and even Blake Griffin, who's still trying to get back on the court after them acquiring him, um, all it takes is to shut down one of those guys, and they're going to get beat by 20, 30 points because they need all of them to score 20, 30 plus points a game to beat a team because the other team's putting up 130, so they got to put up 140 to win. So they shut down one of those guys. It's going to be hard for them because the other guys are going to have to pick that slack up, and with those injuries, I don't think they can do that.
Yeah. Um, just my last couple points here on the NBA. One real quick. Shout out to Russell Westbrook, first player in NBA history to have 25 triple doubles in 4 different seasons. Also, if he can keep up the numbers that he's at, he'll be the first player ever in the NBA history to average triple double over 4 seasons. Shout out to him really quick. But then back to the whole injury, sitting out type thing. It's kind of funny with the Lakers not making any noise. None of their players really in the media talking, nothing like that. They almost have done the same thing kind of that the Nets have done all season long under the radar. AD's been resting, getting healthy. LeBron's been out. I know he rolled his ankle and they said 6 weeks. So it's kind of funny. I know they showed the clip of him the other night standing on the floor saying that he was rehabbing his ankle and he's just sitting there they're resting. I mean, they know what it's going to take to get to the finals. LeBron already is aware of how much gas it's going to take to get through the Clippers, which they're probably going to have to get through, which has battled them hard. Then he's going to have to face probably the Nets or Philadelphia in the finals, probably both who can give them a run for their money. So I feel like it's basically Space Jam almost playing out in the real NBA season. The Monstars is the Nets, all the bad guys coming together and loading up on the squad, and LeBron saying, "All right, buddy, AD, let's rest up and let's take on the world type of deal." So it's going to be really interesting to see coming down the stretch like what happens and how that all folds out. But yeah, the NBA is definitely getting a lot of news
Hmm.
over the past few weeks.
For sure. Um, just a couple points I have as well. One quick stat and then two questions I have for you. Kawhi Leonard, he returned to action on Sunday after a four-game absence due to a right foot injury. He drops 15, 11, and 8, so good to see him back for the Clippers. And then kind of circling back to Kobe, one point on him. He matches Kobe with 10 straight game of 30 points or more. Interview after I believe Sunday, either yesterday or Saturday's game. He says this is his best stretch of basketball he's ever played. Um, with that being said, with 15 games left in the season, the Warriors currently sit at the number 9 spot, which would have them in the play-in tournament. Do you think Curry's hot streak is enough to give him a potential playoff run, or should they just kind of take a step back, take the season as a wash, and prepare for next season when they have a healthy Clay back?
No, you keep striking the iron while it's hot. Let Curry keep riding. Let him keep firing, and you guys basically it's how Steph goes, the team goes type of deal. He's got to put up at least 30 points for them to be relevant, almost in a game. I know they did get some dubs while he was out, but I don't know. I feel like they have a lot of momentum going right now. They've been super hot, like Steph said. This is the best stretch of basketball he's been playing. It's a team sport. His teammates pass him the ball to get him open. Obviously, he does a lot himself, the ball handler that he is, and how he's kind of changed the game of getting up shots. But that's a shout out to his team. Also, at the same time, for that comment, like they're on fire right now, and I could definitely see them going as long as Curry can continue to keep putting the ball in, and their team keeps playing the way that they do. I could see the streak potentially riding all the way through, maybe even the end of the postseason. I mean, once you get hot, who knows how long that hot streak's going to last. So you ride it as long as you can. And it seems like they have it right now, so it's going to be interesting to see how long they can keep it going.
For sure. And then on the other side, in the Eastern Conference, the Miami Heat got back on track yesterday with a buzzer beater win against the Nets. The Heat, though, have lost 10 of their last 17 games and currently sit at one above 100, 29 and 28 on the season with 16 games left. On Friday, they had a loss against the Timberwolves, which are the worst team in the NBA. He kind of threw some shade at the team, saying that they're playing too soft and need to get back to playing bully ball. Right now, they currently sit a half a game ahead of the Hornets as the seventh seed and 1.5 game back from the Knicks at the sixth seed. I know kind of when they after they acquired Oladipo, it's been a conversation as to where that team was going to go. It looks like they're kind of taking a downward trend. So, do you think that they can get back on track to maybe get try to clinch a playoff berth at six? Because anything seven or lower, they're in that play-in tournament, and at that point, it's whoever shows up that night is moving on or going home.
Well, isn't it even if you are that eighth seed, aren't you guaranteed the spot?
No, so seventh and eighth place. Seven moves to the seventh seed. Eight drops to play whoever the 9 and 10th winner is.
So if seven loses the 7-8, they go to the eighth spot.
No, if you lose the 7-8, you have to play again. If you lose that, you don't make the playoffs at all. So you could literally go from a seventh seed to missing the playoffs entirely because you because it goes out to 10. 9 and 10 play each other, and they play the loser of 7 and 8.
Gotcha.
So you
Gotcha.
could so if you don't win your 7 and 8 game, and then you don't beat whoever the winner of 9 and 10 is, you go from a comfortable seven seed making the playoffs to you're watching from the couch at home.
Yeah, I see them making the playoffs. Also to be expected when you bring in a new guy, especially who likes to have the ball in his hand and make some plays. So just a little rough stretch, getting used to still having Oladipo on the floor for the minutes that he's logging, and just getting used to how that team plays. I can see them. They're gonna pull it together. They're gonna make the playoffs, and yeah.
All right. That's all I had on the NBA. Just wanted to bring up those couple points. Kind of a lot to talk about in the NBA today, surprisingly. Well, not surprisingly, with the season running down, but I feel like we had more to talk about today than usual.
Yeah, and then one thing that we usually don't talk about much on the show here, some soccer news. Turns out, I don't know if you saw the news, Collin, the Champions League that currently is over in Europe, which is the best teams that play each other during the year in like their own little thing. Turns out there's a Super League that is potentially going to be started with
Oh,
6 teams, which all the best players are going to be leaving their clubs basically to go play for the Super League. And at this point right now, a statement on like the soccer, like the UEFA, every club and player participating in the Super League could be banned from all UEFA and FIFA competitions, European and international level. So this Super League wanting to form basically is trying to fuck over what all of these soccer teams have built through their farm systems and all this for however long soccer has been going on over in Europe. I think it's like 150 years or something along those lines. Like it's a long time, and now some rich assholes want to come in and basically screw up the greatest league that they have over there in Europe. I know a lot of people are super pissed. Obviously, it gets a lot of attention in the media because oh, this guy could potentially play this guy, which they may only play each other once every 4 years or 3 years or whatever the case may be, or they'd be playing each other every week, sort of deal. I definitely like. What do you think this is a real possibility of players wanting to take money and basically fucking over the entire Champions League over there?
I mean, like you mentioned, we don't talk soccer a whole lot, but just thinking of like the sports world as a whole, you'd hate to see something like this happen just because of how historic the game of soccer is um, over in Europe. Obviously, we say football, we're talking American football. When they say football, they're talking soccer. So it's kind of two completely different worlds. And obviously, once you cross the Atlantic Ocean, um, they're they're just as passionate as a lot of Americans are about the NFL and football in general. So again, you'd hate to see something like this happen where where players would form a super league just because obviously there's more money involved. Um, but at the same time, soccer is a very high paying sport as well. you see like your Ronaldos, your Messis making just as much, if not more, than some of the highest paid NBA and NFL players, and then obviously more than that off of their sponsorships and sponsorship deals and stuff like that too. So if it comes down to money, like why do you like you already have enough, but also like I guess if they want more, they want more. Um, so yeah, I don't know enough about soccer to go into it too much, but just thinking about it for the sports world as a whole, you hope it doesn't happen, but also money is a powerful tool when it comes to these leagues, so you never really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's where I stand on the whole thing. Is I'm pretty firm on they should just keep it how it is, and you shouldn't keep letting people with a lot of money and a lot of wealth just jump into an industry and kind of take it over how they want to take it over. It's made it this far because of this reason. Why change it now? Like, I just don't understand it. But yeah, hopefully that doesn't change, and hopefully I'm all the soccer fans all over the world. I know they'd be really disappointed to see this go through. So hopefully it doesn't for all those people out there who really love the game.
For sure. Um, I guess kind of like you said before you going into soccer, a sport we don't talk about a whole lot. Another one as well, UFC and just kind of the whole boxing world in general. We'll kind of start with just this past weekend's big fight, Jake Paul against Ben Askren. I didn't watch the fight live though. It doesn't really seem like you had to. Jake Paul knocks out Ben Askren in the first round. He moves to 3-0 in his boxing career, boosts his ego that much more. I can't stand the Paul brothers, so it irks me to see that happen. But there's a lot of circulation because of after fight like pictures and stuff of Ben Askren walking out of the arena with his arm around his wife, laughing. Doesn't look like no black eye. Like literally doesn't look like he just came out of a fight. Do you think this was more of a publicity stunt for Jake Paul, especially? I don't know if you kind of looked at the weigh-in the night before. Ben Askren looks like he's got a dad bod. He's got love handles. He looks completely out of shape. Like he basically was retired from the fighting world. Looks like he basically came out of it just to get a nice paycheck. Um, where do you kind of weigh in on the whole fight on Saturday?
That's exactly what it was. Both people colluding together, starting this massive media shitstorm of hype and publicity, all for both of them to get a payday. I know early statements come out that Askren made around $5 million and Paul made over $10 million from that fight. Just early circulation of those numbers coming out. Yeah, Askren definitely took a dive, took a fall. it, I mean, it was for a person who did spend the $50 to to watch all of the events and everything. The whole Triller new thing that's starting with all of this fighting stuff, awesome. I love the whole thing. Snoop, Pete Davidson, all those guys doing their thing. I thought that was very cool, very awesome. And then all the musical acts and stuff that they did have, I think they did get a little overhand after the first fight. I think it was like an hour or an hour and a half of straight musical performances and stuff like that. So it was like, when's the next fight? When's the next fight? That was cool if they could just figure those little details out. You really wonder how much money they did make on that. Early numbers coming out was that there was over 1.5 million people that paid the $60 to watch the fight. So yeah, I mean, it was really cool to see Mount Westmore, Snoop, E40, Ice Cube, and Too Short. Those guys kind of starting their own music group and dropping their stuff. It was really neat to see a lot of old legendary songs from the '90s, which bring me back to the days when I was a kid hearing that shit, and it was really awesome. But yeah, the fight, the third fight of the whole card, that was the greatest fight all night. You actually had two boxers standing in there going against it. Pro Grice, the one kid from Louisiana, the guy that whooped the other guy. All I remember, I don't even remember the other guy's name. I just remember that he kept being referred to as Blue Hair. She had blue hair, blue trunks, and then they kept making fun of him, the announcers and stuff, about why didn't you pick blue shoes? Like, why didn't you even pick blue shoes to, like, match? And wondering how much money he spent on his hair and all this. The dude was getting his ass kicked, and I don't know if you got to see what happened or if it even made its way into the media, but the fight was ended. He had the guy on. He knocked him down a couple times. He was landing bombs, and they were in tight, and he threw like a shot to like hit him in the side, fully missed, whole punch missed, maybe just grazed, and the dude dropped down, all of a sudden acting like he got hit in the nuts. Turns out whatever that happened, he ended up like exaggerating the situation. Obviously, I don't know if he had a medical issue or something happened, but the way that it looked and the announcers and everybody was just chirping the guy for just a punch missing and him, that's like the biggest flop of all time, especially in like a contact sport, not even getting hit, dropping down, and they ended up taking him off on a stretcher. Like it was crazy to see. The dude ended up getting, like, the guy who took the dive, took the L, tried to like get like the illegal punch or whatever. He ended up losing the fight, so it was good to see. I was really hoping the guy that won that third fight would be like, "Hey, Jake Paul, like, fight me, motherfucker," because it'd be cool to see that guy would whoop his ass. Like, seeing a real boxer and how they move, how fast those guys are compared to the YouTuber fights and the fucking all this bullshit, not even close. And then I don't know, did you hear about who he's fighting next?
I saw it was announced. I can't remember who it was though.
Tyson Fury's like nephew or cousin or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, it's supposed to be hit. He wants to try to fight him the same night that Tyson Fury fights his next opponent. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just doing some digging into who the fuck is this guy. I've never heard of him. He's got 4 career fights. He's 4-0. The dudes that he's fought are guys that get paid to take the L. The one of the guys that he fought had 2 wins and over 100 losses. Yeah. One of the guys had 1 win and over 40 losses. A lot of guys, they're not boxers. They're just guys who basically stood in there to get this guy some W's to make it look like he's a boxer. This is the next whole fight that's going to be set up. Already calling it right now. Jake Paul's going to win in a knockout. Until I'm starting to get so sick of this. Have him fight a real guy and have the real guy put him down so he shuts the fuck up.
Mhm.
Like, I'm so sick of seeing his face everywhere. People talking about him, all this. It's like, good for you, dude. You're a marketing magician for how much money you pull in. Like, you're a master marketer. And he like plays into that role of like being the asshole douchebag tool type of role, which people that's why people want to see him get his ass kicked. But then him to go ahead and like set all this up, like, I don't know if you saw Snoop Dogg made a bet with Dana White about who was gonna win, and Snoop won $2 million by calling Paul was gonna win. Dana thought Askren was gonna win. That's all set up, dude. Like, that's all for show. That's all for
Well, especially yeah, that's all publicity. You know, Dana White with Ben Askren being an ex UFC fighter, that looks bad for him if he doesn't if he doesn't bet for one of his previous athletes. You know what I mean?
yeah. And like how you said, Askren weight like looked. He was. People were saying he was like 30 pounds over the heaviest he's ever been in his entire life. Like, it
Yeah,
almost seems like he got paid to not work out
yeah.
and try to just show up and fight him for a guy
That's
for Jake Paul. I mean, I give him credit. He's in the gym, boxing, actually like working out, training and stuff. Like, he's dedicated his time to do this full time. See all the videos and stuff that he does. So you clearly see a guy who's putting in the work, but then you see a guy who probably just got, hey, you want to get paid $5 million to sit on the couch? I know he's from Wisconsin, eat a lot of cheeseburgers, cheese curds, add some weight, and just show up looking like you aren't athletic at all, and just take one punch from me. Like, just take one punch for $5 million. Who wouldn't do that?
yeah,
I'd gain 100 pounds and step out there and take a right hand for $5 million. Are you kidding me?
yeah. And plus, I mean, Askren because he's already past his career. Really, since Masvidal fucking eliminated him with one of the fastest knockouts in UFC history, Askren never came back from that. Really, Had a couple undercard fights after that, and never really made a name for himself after that. But um, yeah, it sucks to see Jake Paul and even Logan as well, just kind of disrespecting the sport by just being able to, because they got stacks to throw around, that they're able to go out and get these fights against people that have been working years and years and have built a good reputation for themselves. They're getting the priority because they have more money to throw around. It's just disrespectful to the sport. And like you said, Jake Paul keeps calling out McGregor. That fight would be over just as fast as the Askren one was, but he's going to be the one on the ground that
Yeah,
next
but
time.
even if he does, though, he's making enough money that you know what I mean. So it's
Yeah.
not. It's a loss on his record, but it really isn't a loss because all, it's all about the media, like how he stirred up all the shit with Ben Askren and all that like type of stuff. Like all he's in it for is the money. He's not in it to be the best boxer ever. You know, otherwise he would have done that for a living. He would have
Mhm.
been doing that since he was a little kid. He's all in it. It's all the marketing. It's all I don't know. It makes YouTube look good because he's like a YouTube star, helps YouTube, and then with the whole like him taking like a dive type of thing, Askren. I feel like that being Triller's first like event, like first time broadcasting, first time being a thing, they had to like they hyped it up way too much. Like after the fight was over, I was so pissed. Like I literally was like, I stayed up. I watched this for 4 hours to watch a fight, not even the main fight, not even make it into the second round
Mhm.
on a dive. Like, at least really knock him the fuck out, or at least really put him, at least fight, dude.
Yeah.
I was telling one of my buddies, I was like, I got an Oculus and I've been doing this boxing thing. I guarantee you, just my knowledge of just hockey fighting and just working with boxing on the Oculus, I bet I could knock Ben Askren down. Like I bet I could put him down. Like I'd love to make that a thing, dude. Me versus Ben Askren. Let's go. Hype it up. Let's go. Let's do it in Vegas. Let's do it. But I
Yeah.
guarantee you, if you gave me a year or even 6 months, I guarantee you I could train hard enough to where I'd be able to fucking put him down.
Yeah. Well, especially.
At least just going off of what I've seen.
Mhm.
Obviously, you don't really know how hard he was trying and all that. You know, it turns out the dude can be a fucking freak.
Yeah.
If
Well,
you,
no, especially looking at like why I think it was staged, and basically Askren took a graze to the forehead and made it look like he was stunned when he got up and the ref called the fight, is watching some of his beatdowns from UFC of just blow after blow after blow for like 30 seconds to a minute, and he gets back up, goes next round, he's good to go. How the fuck do you take one punch from a YouTuber and you're done when you can just take elbows and knees and fists to the face, strike after strike after strike, and then get up, wipe the blood off, and you're back in. That's why I don't buy it. Askren, he's a lot better of a fighter than what Saturday made him look. Um,
he knows it.
oh yeah,
That's why I feel like that camera shot that caught him and his wife just smiling cheek to cheek, ear to ear on the way out, dude. I feel like somebody fucked up in showing that shot. I feel like that really wasn't meant to get out there because now all this, all this speculation is on that. Or this could be another marketing ploy from Paul. Now you have all these people talking about what did he fall? Did he do this like we're doing right now? You know what I mean? Like
hmm,
we're spending the time to even talk about it. So
exactly,
clearly, whatever his whole marketing strategy and however they worked out that whole thing, it works.
for sure.
I mean, you hate to see it, but it works.
Yeah. Um, still in the fighting world, just switching gears here. To UFC Vegas 24 this past Saturday. Um, I guess before diving into that, um, recently we had reached out and been had a brief conversation with the company Everlast, their boxing equipment, and just uh, like gloves. Like I'm just gonna say equipment because there's so many different things that I'm sure that they do. But um, yeah, we're working on being partnered with them, so we plan to start bringing more UFC and boxing world news and stuff for you guys. especially on like Mondays after a Saturday main card. So, yeah, look forward to diving more into that. And as we get more details on an affiliate code, stuff like that for you guys, we'll be sure to break that to you. So, I'm just going to go over the main card results from Saturday, as that's kind of all people really care about anyway. So, um, starting at the bottom, we had a lightweight bout between Luis Pina. He defeated Alexander Munoz by split decision. It was actually a really good fight. Came down to the end. Pina had a late offensive push, which ended up edging him in the later rounds. Munoz had ended up with more strikes, but down the stretch, Pina's strikes just ended up landing more damage and was stunning him more. So that was ultimately the decision there. At the middleweight bout, Jacob Malkoun beat Abdul Razak Al Hassan by unanimous decision. Malkoun, amazing in his young career so far. I think he's only 25 years old. He's 5-1 in his professional career, 1-1 in UFC, and basically he won that fight with his 6 takedowns and just had ground control the whole time. Um, Heavyweight bout, Andrei Orlowski defeated Chase Sherman by unanimous decision. Orlovsky gets his 20th UFC win. He's 31-20 in his professional career, so good to see him working his way up there. For the Cohen main event fights, uh, Jeremy Stevens and Draker Close. The cancel was or the fight was canceled, supposedly due to the day before during weigh-ins. There's a scuffle that happened where Close was injured with a neck injury because Stevens like hit him or like went to hit him or something, and he
He
snapped
put he pushed him, dude.
pushed
It was
him.
a
Yeah.
fucking little push, and the dude said that, "Oh my god, my hands went numb and my neck started to tighten up and all
Hmm.
this stuff." It's like, get me the fuck out.
Yeah. He
You probably
supposedly.
realize you picked the wrong guy, or this guy was gonna pummel you. So I need any reason or excuse to have this pushed off, delayed, or whatever.
Yeah. It's yeah. I didn't see. I just saw. I didn't see like the video of it, but I saw like the
I did.
picture of the like when it happened, and it was like, okay, I don't know what you're getting at there, but supposedly he woke up with a migraine and nausea Saturday morning and went to a hospital to get treatment, which then they had to call off the fight. So, um, if they decide to reschedule the fight, hopefully they do. If they don't, then it goes to show that Close is just a bitch and didn't decide he didn't want to fight. So, the main event on Saturday was the middleweight bout between Robert Whitaker and Kelvin Gastelum. Um, Whitaker won by unanimous decision. He basically controlled the whole fight. He had 132 to 37 significant strikes, 3-0 on takedowns, which the takedowns led to a minute and a half of ground control. So, just watching the highlights of that fight, Whitaker, obviously, everybody kind of recognizes the name. He carries a lot of weight on his shoulders as far as solidifying himself to be one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time. Still has a ways to go to do that, but he's on his way there. And Saturday's fight definitely helped his case. Um, yeah, that's all I had for kind of the UFC fights.
Yeah, just one real quick thing, sticking with the fighting world. One thing that I did just see, talking about people who are getting pissed of hearing Jake Paul's name. Turns out BJ Penn is calling out Jake Paul, saying that he would knock him out in a heartbeat and would love to pummel that kid's face. So I'd love to see that. I'd love to see a true fighter really step in and fight this guy. UFC, whether or not he's a boxer or not, a true fighter, a guy who's not just looking for a payday and a guy who's actually looking to win, he'd kick his ass.
Hmm. Yeah, that's all it's going to take is somebody who actually wants to fight, not somebody who's just looking for a payday. That's going to be the difference. Um, before, did you just have hockey stuff? So I got some MLB stuff I can throw before we finish up with that, or is there anything
Yeah,
else you want to dive into?
no, you can jump into your baseball stuff.
Sounds good. So yeah, or MLB Minute here. Just some quick stuff around the league. The Atlanta Braves star Ronald Acuna Jr. goes out with an abdominal injury on Sunday. Though the Braves would go on to win 13-4. So um, see what happens there. I don't think it's been diagnosed yet what exactly happened with him, but hopefully he gets back soon. Uh, Round one of the Dodgers Padre matchup finished Sunday. The Dodgers won the series 2-1. Our Brewers lost a series against the Pittsburgh Pirates 1-2. Um, Still above 500 as they started a series tonight against the Padres, so that'll be a good series to watch as well. Um, Kind of an interesting story to start the year. The Yankees fall to 5-10 yesterday. This is their worst 15-game start since 1997. And then lastly, Shane Bieber is off to a hot start on the mound, becomes the first pitcher in league history to begin a season with 4 straight starts with at least 10 strikeouts. So, um, great to see that as well.
Yeah, did you get to see that Mookie Betts catch?
Ye- Yeah,
I believe that
wasn't
was
it like?
Friday night where he won the game.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if he didn't catch that, they would have lost.
Yeah, wasn't it like a?
Yeah,
It was like a. I'm trying to think. I
dove
remember.
head first and like caught it barely in the palm, barely off the ground, and then while he was sliding, he brought his bare hand to it to make sure that it didn't hit the grass. It was unbelievable catch, like probably catch of the year if I would have to guess. Like right now, that's definitely the front runner. So that's the bar to beat right there for that catch. And then yeah, just wrapping it up here with some hockey news. Kind of same old almost. Vancouver Canucks returned to action finally after their long COVID stretch. They went down early in the game, 1-0, and their owner and members of their organization took online and took saying how William Nylander, guy who scored the goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs, celebrated super hard like he won the Stanley Cup after he scored a goal. Team was super pissed that a guy would do that after the team hasn't played a game in like 20 something days, and they all were basically getting IVs like up till 3 days ago. Um, Team was pissed. Turns out they rallied and ended up winning in overtime, 3-2. It was an awesome game. It's good to see. Good to see the team, battle back and hold strong and end up coming out with a W. It was really cool to see. Another main point in that game. Save of the year, probably. Braden Holtby, ex Capitals goalie, now Vancouver's goalie. Did one of those, I don't know, a Dominic Hasek type save where he laid down and he completely rolled over in the net and stopped the puck. It was awesome to see. Hell of a save. So shout out to you, Holtby, for that. Couple quick stats here, which are pretty interesting. Ever since the trade, well, since March 13th, I'm going to say two hottest teams in the NHL right now: New York Rangers and Colorado Avalanche. They each have 3 players in the top 6 for scoring since March 13th. Um, Artemi Panarin leads that list with 32 points. Nathan McKinnon's in second with 30 points. Then there's 2 Rangers who have 28 and 25, and then 2 Avalanche players with 25 as well. So those 2 teams are hot right now. It's a great time to get hot, especially with the playoffs right around the corner. I want to say my Flyers have been officially eliminated from the playoffs. I know it hasn't came out officially, but just looking at their points that they're down and stuff, I think they're too far behind to even catch up at this point. Um, an interesting division where I thought Tampa was going to run away with it. Carolina and Florida have came out of nowhere to take the 1 and 2 spots in that division. Those teams are super hot right now. Can't see they can't seem to do anything wrong. I've watched some bits and pieces from some of their games just to really see if they're the real deal, and they are. I've seen them battle back time and time again. It's really impressive to see what they're doing, especially as Carolina. They were in the playoffs the last couple of years, so they're really going for it, getting over that push. And then Florida, haven't seen them. They're not really known for their hockey, but you got Keith Yandel down there, who's Iron Man streak. It's really neat to see them, especially. I've brought this up a handful of times. Aaron Ekblad, their top D man, points wise, going down really hurt them. So it's going to be a fun, really run here. The last 7 games, 6 games that teams have to play, and yeah, that's really all I got. I mean, there's really not too much. Games obviously are happening every single night. I don't want to sit here and talk too much about each individual game because people probably get sick of hearing my voice talk about hockey on here. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be really fun. Hopefully, Cole Caulfield. We want to keep bringing him up, being the Wisconsin native, Stevens Point native guy. Hopefully, he gets a shot. I know uh, the AHL team that he currently, since he's on the taxi squad, he's technically on both, but he's getting paid NHL money. The team announced he will not be going with the AHL team. They only play one game over this next week. He will be going on his first NHL road trip this weekend. So shout out to him. He'll be with the team over the next 3 games that they play. I think it's going to be about 5 to 6 days that they're gone on the road. So he's going to get to see how NHLers live. NHLers live, 5-star hotels, that's a requirement. So I'm pretty sure that's something new for the kid.
Hmm.
It's going to be pretty cool to see. Hopefully he gets a shot. I mean, I've been doing some digging in, reading some of their articles from in Montreal. Obviously, since we're in the States, we don't have immediate access to that type of stuff. So I had to do some digging in, and ex players who see the kid play say, kid's phenomenal. He's going to fit right in. He's going to do very well. He should have a great NHL career. So hope all that's true. And they're saying they wouldn't be surprised if you saw him get in the line. Get in. They have 10 games left on their schedule. They got 42 played. They played 52 this year. They're saying within the last probably 3 games, they'll probably get him in there and get him a shot. Especially they're in the playoff position right now, so it'd be pretty cool for the kid to get called up with a couple to go and get slotted in there. The offs, go score some big goals for the team. I know whole state of Wisconsin's hoping and praying, wishing that this kid gets the shot to do it, and would love to see him succeed. So that's kind of all I got here for today.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's all I had as well. A lot happened over the weekend and kind of brought up some new points as well. Um, so yeah, tomorrow, got another interview for you guys coming out. Hadn't announced it yet. But we're gonna be talking with a good friend of mine I grew up with, Josh Pillith. Um, did track and field with him, football, wrestling in high school. So again, grew up with him. He's 2 years younger than me. Went on to do track and field at North Dakota, fighting Hawks, and then now currently is back at a college here in Wisconsin. So have him on tomorrow to kind of talk about his state career. He has some state championships at the high school level, and then his track career in college as well. So look forward to bringing you guys that tomorrow.
Yeah, it should be really neat. That's one of the areas that I'm not super versed in. I did track through the whole middle school type deal at the high school, and then I kind of stopped. So it'd be really neat to talk to him.
For sure. Well, we'll see you everybody tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll see you then.
Sounds good. Peace out, everyone.